All right, guys, how's it going out there? Rooster and 10, roostercb.com. And today, just going to take a quick look and kind of check the output of one of these Anytone Quad 6 Pros. And I'm not going to go into all the menu functions and all the features of it because honestly, we could spend probably an hour looking at this radio. Lots and lots and lots of features on it. Main thing we want to do is just run through the modes of operation and mainly AM, FM, and sideband, and show you kind of how one of these will perform when it's stock. Again, tested on our Bird 43P, and we are at 14 point. Let's dial this back a little bit. I'm just going to do 14.5 as a good middle ground. So this is going to be at 14.5 volts. No mods have been done to the radio aside from the obvious ready to go, if you will, the frequency that it's on. But no other mods have been done to it. No final changes, no power upgrades, no regulator upgrades. None of that's been done to it. So essentially this is how they're going to come, except the frequency has been expanded a little bit on it. So with that being said, we won't waste any time. I keep these on the website. Right now I have them just stock, no modifications done to them, can sell them just one at a time, or can sell them at kind of a wholesale price, 3 at a time or more. Also sell them on eBay, but I do have some that I'll be doing a video on here shortly that have been fully upgraded, or as we like to say, all the way, if you're wanting one that's been souped up a little bit. But again, this is just going to be kind of a, basically a stock one here. Okay, so we will see how it does. This back knob is our RF power. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it wide open, and we'll see how much it varies on AM as we can turn it down as well. But for right now, let's just start out wide open. We've got a 100 watt slug in our meter here, so we're looking at the bottom scale. And this is going to be average power first. And I will take a look at the clamp meter towards the end of the video. I'll unmount the camera and see what the maximum current draw is on the clamp meter. Hello. So about a 24 to 25 watt carrier, swinging around 30 average, and that is with the RF power wide open. If you want to see what it does PEP, again, this is on a Bird. Your doses or MFJs or something else may show different, but we're just sitting here talking, and it's talking around 100 watts, and it'll audio a little bit past 100, but just talking into it normal here, 90 to 100 watts pretty easily on the PEP side. Now, for reference, let's just turn our RF gain. You can see me turning it over here. Trust me on where I'm saying it's at. It's going to be at 12 o'clock now. So our RF power is now at 12 o'clock. Hello, audio. So it'll audio to about 50 there, but just realistically talking into it, talking about 40 watts or so PEP. So I'm going to turn it back some more. Let's go to about 9 o'clock. Hello, radio, check 1, 2, 3. Audio, check 1, 2, 3. Audio, check 1, 2, 3. Audio, check 1, 2, 3. Audio. About 20 watts PEP, and then all the way down. Check 1, 2, 3. Audio, check 1, 2, 3. Not even 10 watts PEP. So a question a lot of people ask me, they're like, can fill-in-the-blank radio run with fill-in-the-blank amplifier? Well, there's a lot of different variables to that. So if you say, hey, Rooster, can I run my Quad 6 Pro with a RM Italy 503 HD? Well, my answer to you would be, if your radio hasn't had any power modifications done to it or, upgrades, then yes, you can, because you can use your variable power to turn your top end and bottom end down simultaneously. Now, after one of these is done up, fully upgraded, all that's going to do is manipulate your carrier or your dead key. So if you're wanting to keep your radio to where you have full control of both your dead key and your output, I would strongly suggest just leaving it stock. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Is it going to be as big and loud and punchy as one that's had all the upgrades done to it? No, probably not. But if you're wanting to take this radio and run it with a smaller amplifier, such as a 2-pill, an RM Italy 203P, a RM Italy 503 HD, RM Italy 703, then you're probably going to want to leave it stock. Okay? Now let's move along to sideband. Upper sideband. Upper and lower sideband are going to be about the same. Just for reference, we're going to turn our RF power wide open here and see what it does. We're still on PEP. Hello, PEP. Audio 1, 2, 3. PEP. Audio. So pretty much burying 100 watts. We'll come back to this slug here in a second. But since it's burying it that far, I do want to put my 250 in. We're going to go from the bottom scale to the top scale. Hello, PEP 1, 2, 3. PEP 1, 2, 3. Audio check 1, 2, 3. So it's doing about 115 to 125 PEP with the RF power wide open. And we're going to do the same test that we did on AM. We're going to put our 100 watt slug in here, so we're going to be going back to the bottom scale. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn our RF power halfway. Check, check, audio, 1, 2, 3, audio, 1, 2, 3. And it does a little more on sideband with the, the RF power back there than it did on AM. So in the same position on sideband, it's talking 70, 80, audio. You can tell that limiter tries to kick in when you audio into it. Now let's go down to 9 o'clock. Radio check, 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 radio check, 1, 2, 3, audio, radio, 1, 2, 3, audio. About 15 to 20 watts, and then all the way down, of course. Hello, radio, barely anything. So funny enough, it does more on AM all the way down than it does on sideband. Barely modulating at all. Would not recommend running it that far down. And of course, I'm sure some people are curious about FM. Let's go ahead and turn our peak kit off, and we'll just go ahead and key it up and show you. There you go. It'll go up to about 65, 70 watts on FM. I don't recommend running it that high. Now what I want to do is dismount the camera, and we're going to check on the clamp meter how much current it draws. We're going to do it on AM, FM, and sideband with the RF power wide open. Dismount our camera here. And we got our clamp meter out. This is going to be AM. No, this is FM with the RF power wide open. 8.4 amps at 14.5 volts. AM. Hello. 7 amps from a 5 amp draw on the carrier. And then upper sideband. Hello. Audio. Almost 11 amps. So that is your performance of one of these without any kind of modifications done to it. And I will tell you guys, it's pretty impressive for a radio that hasn't had a lot of mods or hasn't had any mods done to it, essentially. So, a lot of radios won't even get any kind of forward power on average, and some of them will even swing backwards on average before they're modified. But on this one, you get forward output. It's drawing more current on an audio than it is on a carrier, and that's always a good sign. So to me, one of these will perform nicely. Now, if you get the all-the-way mods, is it going to perform better? Well, sure it is. And I'm sure after we do a video, you'll be able to see that on the watt meter and everything else, and the amount of current that it draws, etc. But to me, you don't necessarily have to get one of these modified. They're going to be a good performing radio. I would rather have one of these than an HF rig. If you have an HF rig and you turn the RF power wide open on AM, chances are it's going to back up on average power. It may swing forward on PEP, but it's not going to swing forward from 24 watts or 22 watts to 30 plus watts average like this radio was. So 2 thumbs up for me. I like the Quad 6 Pro. Look, I've sold a bunch of them. So certainly not doing this video trying to, talk anybody into buying one. If this is your style of radio that you like, I think you guys will be pretty happy with it. If you don't like the menu-driven radios, you probably want to stay away from it. But to me, a really sweet little radio. nice and cool, not warm at all. I do sell fan kits for these as well. So if you get one fully modded and you're like, well, this thing's kind of running kind of warm, because they will run a little bit more warm after they've been, hopped up. Obviously, there's a trade-off there. Stock radio is not going to run as hot as a modified radio. So if you find yourself in that situation, I do have fan kits for them that'll fit. All right, thanks, guys. Rooster N10, roostercb.com, Anytone Quad 6 Pro. Let me know what you think. See you, bye.